Alright, let me show you this first. Estamos cociendo los maduros ahí. Ese es el secreto en la cáscara, porque cuando se jala natural, ya casi estamos ahí. Y después el queso frito hay que darle vuelta. Y le decíamos combinar un desayuno sabroso hoy. Y aquí oírle las cebollitas. Ya está con vinagre y un poquito de limón y agua. That's it. Stay tuned. Entran los huevos. Alright, entonces la parte importante es plating. Aquí está el mangú, lo ponemos en medio. César, Armando. That's like hash browns, de para el sobrino. So most people like hash browns in the morning, or just some country potatoes. Today we're doing mangú. And what we do, I want you to check this out. People like their eggs and spinach in the morning. Vamos con huevo y bok choy. Voy a poner aquí al ladito. It's just like, it's got everything I like: colors, flavors, and most importantly, culture. You don't always have to go bougie. You can, como dice Tego, calle pero elegante. You guys can Google who Tego is. De para el sobrino. Look, it looks almost like egg whites. And you see, I'm trying to build it with height, just the way they would plate it. Always make it look clean. And you can't forget this. Se le pone encima para el color. Bro, that looks beautiful.
I love it.
That looks beautiful. And then you're gonna have to have the queso frito. Ahí. Oh my God, it's so good, bro. So there you have it. Esto que vamos a comer ahorita. Estoy aquí en the Heights, Washington Heights. Este es el mangú, huevo, bok choy, queso frito y cebolla. I just want to explain to you what it is. El mangú, because you know, when I come to New York, yo pienso en mangú, ¿verdad? Porque eso no se consigue en the West Coast tan común. Entonces hay que hacerlo en la casa. Mangú, huevos con bok choy. You know, when you go to like American places, te gusta espinaca con huevo para el desayuno. Entonces lo mezclé. Bok choy es una verdura china. Por supuesto, la cebolla roja y el queso frito. Todo en moderación.
¿De dónde te salió el bok choy?
Es que es un invento, ¿eh? A mí me gusta el bok choy porque mi abuelo siempre lo crió con la comida china. Entonces el bok choy es como el espinaca para mí. Y con los huevos para la proteína en la mañana. El mangú porque estoy aquí. Esto no voy a hacer en la casa ya.
You know, some people they tend to be purists in a sense, even with food, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I tell folks is that what separates a genius from, I guess, mediocre or the ordinary is that genius is willing to experiment and go beyond what's expected of you know, if you see a fork, for instance, right? A genius sees that as an object that can be used as a tool, that is not just to eat. You can open a door with it. I mean, some doors, right? You can, and now I see that with food, that you're doing that with food.
I just story told, right? My abuelo, cuando llegó a Nicaragua, la China, él tenía su wholesale for vegetables, verduras, to sell to Nicaraguan, people. Y entonces, yo me crié en cosas así. Now, going back to the purists, I can't stand that. Cuando él me dice, eso no es authentic.
Le puedo entrar.
Vaya, papi, vaya. Authentic, what's authentic? Si yo estoy en mi cocina, yo voy a cocinar lo que yo tenga. Yo voy a cocinar lo que yo pueda conseguir. Like, accessibility is so key. So when people say purist, I think that's corny. Because who are you to tell us, because you Google something, what is that? I just told you, I need some vegetables, I got bok choy. You know what I'm saying? Quiero huevo en la mañana porque me gusta eso. The mangú, I'm not going to eat mangú by myself. ¿Verdad? Entonces estoy contigo y lo hago. Entonces, la combinación me gusta porque tiene your greens, los huevos, el starch, y la sal.
In Panama, do they eat the mangú like that as well? Or is it
In Nicaragua.
In Nicaragua, I'm sorry.
No, we don't even have mangú.
I'm thinking about
Daddy? No, we don't have mangú. This is something I learned coming to. That's what I'm saying. Travels is such a lesson. And so I love the texture. Literally, you boil it, water, mantequilla, using your own seasoning. But anyways, so yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I love the colors, everything.
Y el queso.
El queso frito.
Queso frito, Nica, lo comen así.
Eso es nicaragüense that we eat over there. Well, God, I love it, bro. It's the perfect salt. I didn't even put no salt. But anyways, we're here because el tema de Benito, the Super Bowl halftime show. Yo creo que eso va a ser. Let's paraphrase what I was telling you, right? When Crazy Rich Asians came out, the name was provocative. La gente pensaba que it was gonna be like a Kardashians.
But that's what I thought originally.
That's what I thought. So I'm like, oh my God, una exageración, whatever. But I went and saw it, and it was amazing. It broke records box office.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is delicious.
Yes,
está buenísimo.
I mean, you never had bok choy with eggs.
Nunca mi vida. Primera vez.
Yeah. But going back, I was talking to your nephew que si uno prepara la comida así, it goes to a different audience.
That's true.
Right? Because you're not going to have bok choy at a Dominican joint, right?
But,
Pero ahora, me gusta, César, es que yo cociné esto aquí en tu casa.
Buenísimo que es.
¿Te gustó? Sobrino.
El sobrino aquí
El sobrino sí le gustó. Por primera vez probando bok choy.
Y lo lindo que seguía ahí. We're in production. Y él está ahí metiéndose.
Y me gustó cocinar en la cocina tuya, porque hay veces que gente dice, necesito cocinar y tener todo preparado. Uno, es que a mí me enseñaron a cocinar en cualquier lugar. You know, my boy Juan, he needs his whole setup. Shout out to my boy Juan. Pero yo le dije, papi, necesitas aprender a cocinar en cualquier cocina. Porque uno nunca sabe, ¿me entiendes? So anyways, el tema de Benito with Crazy Rich Asians was that it changed the narrative for the way people looked at the Asian community. And I thought that was dope because era un rom-com, era cómico, tenía sexiness, todo, y era un éxito. Y cambió la imagen, digamos de Asians. Yo estoy acostumbrado a los chinos, right? Y después yo aprendí que eso fue intentional. Eso fue por parte de The Gold House, de Bing Chen. Él consiguió the Asian community para juntarse juntos y apoyar un proyecto que era bueno. Porque si no era bueno, no iba a tener éxito.
Es verdad.
Yeah, porque qué bueno es apoyar algo que no sirve. That's just faking the funk too.
In terms of you changing the mentality of how Asians are perceived.
Yeah, everyone
not being leads, and it made a ton of money.
They made a ton of money
because that's one of the things that they use against Latinos and Asians too. Of if you invest a lot of money in this, then you're not gonna have that
return on investment. All right.
But the difference between what we're talking about Bad Bunny and because rich Asians, which gonna get back to your point, is that the majority of the films that we pitch to studios, to heads, right, is Los Pobrecitos. Well,
crossing the border,
which is there is a space for that, right, to tell our story. And I do have an issue when folks say these are our stories. You got to write and talking about what you know about, which is fine, right? There's a space for that, right? And I'm thinking, did Tolkien was he an elf when he made the Lord of the Rings? Roddenberry, was he in space when he wrote about that? I mean, why can't we? Why are we only confined to only? And I think the same goes for Benito, right? I think they expect it to be an old school salsero. There has to be like Mark Anthony if they put him in front. Pero eso pasó de moda, bro. ¿Qué es lo que está pegado?
No, reggaetón urbano. Música urbano, hip hop, that's the culture. Él se crió en eso. So when people are so mad, I actually think that this is, and I quote, esto va a ser our Crazy Rich Asians moment. Este es el momento que latinos del mundo in the United States are going to get together. Porque uno puede ser extreme left, extreme right. Pero ese día la mayoría se van a unir y ser latinos. Y apoyar que esa música de nosotros, el idioma de nosotros, right?
Esta es la primera vez que lo van a hacer completamente con música latina, ¿verdad?
Exacto.
Sí, sí.
No, bueno, tenía
Shakira lo hizo, pero lo hizo con música en inglés.
Era combi, sí, sí. Entonces yo digo que este es el momento porque han salido películas latinas, leads, que no han tenido éxito. Y entonces, cuando el 8 de febrero, rompan los records del Super Bowl halftime show más visto en historia, es el momento que los latinos tienen que tener orgullo de decir, wow, eso fuimos nosotros.
Porque en esta vuelta Latinoamérica entera también lo va a apoyar.
Exacto.
El mundo,
Muchos
lugares que no se ve fútbol americano.
So you heard it here first, bro. Mangu, Choy y huevo y queso frito. Ese día va a ser our crazy rich Asians moment. El momento que el mundo vea que los latinos se unieron y tenemos los números. So it wasn't just a great show. It's going to break freaking numbers. So that's why I'm so excited. And, I love seeing Tom Brady saying, yo, what are you talking about? Why are you mad? MAGA mad. It's like, bro, if you're a business, that was a message to people that this country, a lot of it's based on business. So if the NFL is saying, yo, we're going to go Latino Mundial, ¿qué significa eso? Tom Brady, the GOAT, is saying that. And
It's a brilliant move.
It's
like him and Jay-Z.
So why are people so mad? Tell me why people are mad.
It could be numerous things.
Ignorancia.
Primero la ignorancia.
Ignorancia.
Primero,
Y eso ya pasó de moda.
Eso pasó de moda. Yeah. You want it. Let's go there. If you love the sport of football, right, American football, you want more people to see it. You want more people to enjoy the moment. And what Bad Bunny's gonna do, because our folks, for the most part, they watch basketball, y pelota, ¿verdad? And soccer as well. This is gonna bring even more folks that are not gonna be watching. Normally, la gente tuya, unless they were born and raised here for the most part, or the ones that come in their youth, those are the ones that watch American football. Do you see it as ignorant when people are just confined to?
I don't know if it's ignorant. Ignorant is if you choose to stay ignorant.
Yeah.
Hay veces que uno no viaja, no tiene el acceso de aprender diferentes cosas. Like for example, Asians in Latin America, con varios chinos que hicimos nosotros. Nosotros encontramos que los Asians were the first form of immigration. I'm sorry. Asians were early forms of immigration migrating over. Entonces hay Asians all over Latin America. I say Asian porque en español decimos chinos. Los abuelos míos.
How do you feel about? Well,
I'm lucky porque soy chino. Pero si soy coreano o vietnamés o filipino y dice ese es chino, that's tough. Entonces,
a todos le dicen chinito.
Por eso. That's why. El nickname que te pone un latino es lo que vos te aparece. Entonces, es gordo, ¿verdad? Es alto, flaco. So I'm lucky.
Bueno, a nosotros nos dicen mexicano todo.
Yeah.
Aquí en los Estados Unidos.
Pero eso ya pasó de moda. Eso era normal. Hace 10 años, hace 15 años, uno podía preguntar, ¿cómo hablas español vos? Pero si vos todavía estás preguntando eso sorprendido, en vez de preguntar por dónde, entonces eso es la ignorancia. Si eso todavía existe, es ignorancia. That's the way I say it. Because double cultures is normal in this country. There's no way this country is a country of immigrants. So it's normal to connect with someone you care about from a different nationality. So going back to that, los chinos, the Asians are all over. And so that was a beautiful thing that we were doing that show que descubrimos. Look at en las redes sociales ahorita. All the Asian latinos.
Sí, con varios chinos.
Venezolano, chino cubano, chino dominicano.
Ahora te salen más.
Chino boricua. I was just in San Juan, bro, in Condado, and there was a China boricua. Had her own Chinese Cantonese restaurant y es más boricua que todo. So, y en Nicaragua también. So, I don't know. I guess we were just talking on the topic. Don't be confined to what you grew up with because el mundo ha cambiado rápido.
Cambia. Yeah, you gotta stay behind. And I think that also can be tied back to music and your culture, what's happening right now, what's hot. Because I know a lot of people don't like hip hop, right? I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a segment of our community that don't like it. But I think with Bad Bunny, you can criticize him about other things, but when it comes to that, what he's doing right now, nobody else is doing that.
What has he done? tell me what I agree with you.
Yeah,
I want to point it out. Like, I want people to really not just say, he's incredible, he brought in 700 million.
I think there's certain things that, well, I'm not a Puritan when it comes to that, because I was raised the way that I was raised, con la cama con porcel, with I was watching back then Latin Spanish speaking comedy, which is double entendre. It's super deep, and they're willing to go down to the level of speaking about sexuality. Which here is, you can't talk about that.
Sí.
But Bad Bunny, one of the criticisms that I heard about him from older generations is that, he cusses, right? Or he talks about sex all the time. But that's what's up.
No, but in the beginning, I will admit, en el principio, era un poquito bastante vulgar.
Sí.
But something happened in, the Verano album that he just became, mezcló merengue, he put in some urban stuff, portate, it was just crazy how he just became a one of one. What I mean by that is what Allen Iverson did for basketball and the culture, right? Cuando él salió, los tatuajes, the whole hip hop, no one liked it, boom. Jordan in the Jordan shoes, LeBron, no scandal since high school. Now he's a billionaire. Those are one of one. Brady, 7 rings. Yo creo que Benito va a hacer eso. Look what he did. He did a residency in La Isla. The economy was boosted more than what the politicians are supposed to do that. ¿Verdad? Y entonces fue él que dijo eso.
Hey.
And he even says on some footage that, he has to re-understand and relearn his island, because there was things, cada canción tiene un mensaje.
That reminds me of when we were shooting Barrio Chino. There were things that you were telling me, which I didn't know about the Asian Latin community within the Latin America, and then within the United States. You were saying that you learned certain things.
Oh yeah, no, I have to relearn my country, bro, porque es que eso es importante para mí. Yo no puedo decir que soy nicaragüense y no conocer por lo menos lo básico de mi país.
Lo básico,
y cada vez que yo regreso a visit mom and dad, I have to learn something else. Pero ese cada uno su tema, cada uno su tema, but what the collaboration with Adidas, he's killed. By the way, shout out to Steven Mena, which is Menace, es un nicaragüense, salvadoreño, Central American, pero más nica. He just did a collaboration with Adidas. Entonces los latinos están becoming more mainstream. Más en front, I don't want to say mainstream because we know another come mierda who uses that word mainstream. Me gusta que la cultura está cambiando como cool. It's not a check the box, it's a growing demographic. No, somos cool.
That's and where it makes money.
Yeah.
Because if we're not, and one of the things that we spoke about before is that we want to push certain things that they're not going to make money. We have to be honest about that. We have to be, for instance, in the film industry, going back to one of the things that I tell folks, and I've been saying that, I'm beating them that, is that I read about Clooney years ago, I think 10 or 15 years ago. He said I had to give the studio 10 Ocean's 11, which are the cool films of Ladrones y Vaina, for them to give me one Suriana, which is a series to get an Oscar nominated film.
Yeah. But
Latinos, for the most part, in that space, right? Because, and I get it that they also want to be respected by their peers in terms of being, I'm a legit writer, actor. But for the most part, we pitch Surianas. And and we have to be honest. Bless Me Ultima didn't make any money. The Cesar Chavez movie didn't make any money.
Yeah, you
know what I'm saying? You know which one made money?
You know what? Oh, like which one?
Selena made money.
Yeah.
But we're not going to start killing all our major folks. If there's a movie about Celia, it'll make money. You understand what I'm saying? We have movies like that most likely, pero eso es lo que la gente quiere ver, cosa de cultura. We live, and I get why people, why our folks over-index in the movie theater when they buy tickets, right? Because we want to escape to the reality that we're facing.
That's one of them.
Yeah, I'm saying that's one of them. That's one of them. But you go to a movie theater, you don't want to, okay, esta es la realidad mía, la estoy pasando ahora. Entonces yo voy a pagar dinero. La mayoría de la gente, I will watch it because that's my field, my space. Pero otra persona, outside of the community, one of the things that I used to ask people on social media is that when I had my page of uplift of Latinos in film, I used to ask people outside that weren't in the film industry and that weren't Latinos. I used to ask them, Si Ángel aquí el sobrino,
No, aquí estamos.
que es el productor.
Vamos a curar. Keep on talking, keep on talking.
Es decir, una de las cosas, I would ask him, when you hear about Latino film, what do you think? And the majority of people outside of the Latino community, you know what they said?
Oh.
That's not for me.
Yeah.
We don't want that, and especially when we're trying to make money.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make money, we want everybody's money.
Well, you're talking about from a studio standpoint. So I totally agree. People get mad about that, and let me kind of like add to what you're saying, because I agree. Is like, it's like if you go on vacation, you want your money's worth.
You want your
If the money's not worth, you're not gonna go back. So don't try to push. Like P-Rod was on the shop recently, and shout out to P, Lucas, and Nelly. Él dijo, look, I get it, we're not represented. But what do you want to do? You want to annoy people to the point to you want to get a chance, or you want to be great at what you do?
Mm-hmm.
So I really resonated with that.
Mm-hmm.
Que él dijo, let's just make something cool and dope. Y después, sigamos. Look, I go back to Steven Menace with Adidas. You know, if the shoe is a success and it looks cool, I got some, then there might be another one.
It's true.
Pero si él dice, no, hay que colaborar conmigo porque soy Latino on Hispanic hair, that's not, don't force it.
Don't say that, and we do that all the time.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
A lot of people want to do.
You're not supporting my music. You're not supporting my movies.
Yeah.
And they once they flop, they beat the community over the head with that. It's your fault. And I'm like, this is a product that you're selling people.
Eso ya pasó de moda.
Pasó de moda. This is a product. And speaking about cool, right?
Yeah.
This is something that's cool right now.
I know recently you were in DR and I said, oye, tráeme una botella de Mama Juana porque esto me gusta when I used to go. And so, ya viste que no está curado. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I actually like it. It all depends. La gente dice, ¿cómo se cura Mama Juana? Es que a su gusto.
A su gusto.
A mí me gusta el ron añejo. Vino y un poquito de azúcar just to balance out the wine. Porque I remember que yo me despertaba en la mañana, bro, un tabaquito, una marihuana, trago en la mañana en piscina. That was my thing, you know? En la noche un traguito. I never drank it to go crazy, pero sí me gusta. So coming here, I get to relive those moments when I used to go to DR a lot.
Porque one of the things that you say right now, and a lot of people I know Dominicans, when it comes to their culture, Dominicans will come at you. But what you said is that people make it differently, right?
Yeah.
And the way that you like, that's a gusto. And the way that you like it is that some people are like 40%, rum, 40% wine, and un poco de miel. Otra gente un poco.
I'm a rum guy, entonces me gusta el ron. El color tiene que tener el color because this activates la hierba, the herbs, you know? So yeah, no, así me enseñaron a mí. You know, it was some Dominican old man, un viejito en Santiago, fumando un puro. You know, so así aprendí yo.
Así aprendí. It's already cured.
Yeah.
Lo quiere a ver cómo lo hace.
I just like to do 20% ron, you know, and then I'm going to do some wine. But anyways, going back to that, yeah, I think forcing el tema de underrepresentation, like, you know, don't get me wrong, the problem does exist. The numbers show, pero tampoco vamos a forzar a la gente que haga algo que no quieran.
And that's what happened in terms of the people like the Crazy Rich Asians, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was a dope sci-fi. Eso broke records, man. I got a bunch of Oscars for that.
Well, because people love sci-fi, they love horror, they love rom-com.
And then people love Bad Bunny and the music that he's making. And also we have to go back. It's not just Bad Bunny's music, right? Hay temas ahora, especialmente, you know, when it comes to hip hop, the way that you know, his delivery, the lyrics that he was using, right? Hay cosas que son they're deep, especially now what he's doing right now with putting Puerto Rico on the map and what Puerto Rico.
He talks about the injustices of what's happening on the island and un tema cool.
And about topics that normally, and I think I saw him during an interview that he spoke about that.
Yeah.
That, you know, if I go, you know, are people going to support me? Because now I'm going back to old school and having like a mix of what's modern right now, what's popping, and bringing back, you know, salseros from back in, and the rhythm from back in.
Don't even get a start. You know, I'm in the salsa world, bro. Y los salseros se enojaron, que eso no es salsa. I'm like, bro.
Eso vi.
Eso no es salsa. I'm like, your own people are fighting. Y si el tema estaba buenísimo, he used kids to do the band. El baile inolvidable. La mudanza, un mensaje You know, entonces, no, bro, my salsero friends were mad. Eso no es salsa, bro. I'm like, okay, man, he put salsa back on the mat. Ahora, hablamos de eso. The pava, how many people you see wearing pava now? So that's your opinion, my opinion. I just got back from the island. Yo le pregunté a la gente de la isla, ¿qué es lo bueno que está haciendo Benito? Because it was not all positive from their standpoint. For example, ellos me dijeron, mira, es bueno que él reactivó la cultura para que el mundo entero conozca la cultura de él y la historia. They love that. Y yo dije, ok, el bombi plena, pava, you know, los dichos. Just like when I go to Nicaragua. When I go to Nicaragua, I'm reminded of the words I grew up with. Está tuani, búfalo. Y hay, you know, eso es lo que me encanta cuando uno va a su país. Pero ellos también dijeron, pero eso causó un montón de turistas que vinieron y hicieron una desmadre en las calles y el crimen, whatever. So I never saw that. But the point I'm trying to make is I don't go by what I read. I don't like when people Google and they think the subject matter expert. I had to go to the island, dar locales. ¿Qué piensan ellos de lo que pasó? Porque yo pensaba que era todo positivo.
Porque through Google is going to be filtered to a point that it's not going to be our community.
Don't be a Ancestry.com Latino, bro. Vivan su cultura, papi. Eso es todo.
Pero un punto that I like that you just brought up right now is that he, you know, the culture, right? He set a fire. What is it? Not reinvent. He brought it back, right? Reactivated the culture.
He reactivó.
So now, do you know I'm going to compare that to what Beyonce did with country music, right? What she did with country music, a lot of people are angry with her. But the black artists that were doing country music already, she helped them.
Yeah, pave the way.
So that's gonna what Benito's doing with salsa and the salseros that are already now that are out, right? And they're the ancestors as well.
There's backlash.
But they are going to get, because of Benito, they are going to get people are going to be listening to them a lot more.
Bro.
They're going to be doing research on social media.
Absolutely.
They're going to be on YouTube and Spotify and all the other channels. I don't know about Spotify because people are a little upset with it right now. Pero if they can get a lot more sound because of Benito, then I'll be happy.
No, with eso. Ese es combi cabrón.
Oh, wow.
O sea, that's why I love, o sea, that's why I love es la combinación, porque le pongo más vino, pero suficiente ron para que corte el vino, y la miel es para el gusto, you know, but...
Lo quiere probar, porque one of the things that people usually do is that they leave it for like a week or two.
Yeah.
O otro lo toman la misma.
Try a little bit, just like I would do when I'm cooking.
Con una tacita.
Right, al principio, un poquito, un shot, and a little bit. Pero no. No, so what he's doing is great for many reasons, but I still went to the island y le pregunté a ellos, you know, hey, what's the positive and negative without any bias? That's just me and you, though. We like talking to people and learning. And it may not be true, but it's there. They live there. Who are we? No me gusta cuando yo veo gente hablando de las cosas que ellos no saben nada. You can't just Google something and think you're a subject matter expert. That's my biggest problem with social media. I love social media because I connect with good people and I learn because I choose to seguir algo. Pero cuando yo veo la gente peleando or posting 90% of the stuff is anger, why am I going to hang out with an angry person or gay? You know, life's too short, bro. I almost died twice in my life. ¿Para qué andar con gente negativa?
I think that remind me, and I know that's one of our favorite artists, Basquiat. There's a video circulating in social media that they ask him, you know, are you angry? What are you upset about? And he's like, yeah, I'm angry. And then, what are you angry about? And then he's like, and then he smiles, like, and he doesn't respond to that question.
Yeah.
Because then I think he believed that he knew he was gonna feed into that it was a lose-lose situation for him and the community he was trying to represent.
Exacto. You just want to walk away from those things. But let's go back into forcing Latino projects, forcing Latino culture on the people. I really like that. Hay una copita. Not forcing culture because our own people do it. Es un tema sensitive, ¿verdad? Forciando la cultura, right? Like, you know, Chelsea from the Phoenix Suns, she took on this project and she made it cool and relevant to Latinos, right? Because what she had inherited was the stereotypical Latino Mexican maracas. And she made it cool, right? So there's this thing called cultural relevance. Look what Benito did with SNL. He brought Chespirito. That was our living color. Entonces, he was himself. and then he acted other things. And I think we are also to blame at times cuando we're trying to be too Latino, check the box, para los gringuitos. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I agree with you in terms of like beating people over the head with something that, you know, at the end of the day, people are selling culture, right?
Yeah.
And you're selling, and when if you want to do your art, right, and then you don't want to sell it, and you don't care if the majority of people don't receive it, then that's on you, right? You can do whatever you want with that space. But now you are commodifying something that you're creating for people. And if they, of course, yeah, our folks, they do also need to be educated in certain aspects, but they're not going to be educated unless there's an in there for them to be like, how can I see certain things if they're not even looking for it, right?
Yeah.
They're not looking. Benito, his music, it's already out there. It's already cool.
Yeah.
And he's teaching a lot of folks about the culture, for instance.
Yeah.
And that's an in. Outside of that, if you try to, if there's no in, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. But what I'm talking about is, for example, some of the projects you work on, right? You have AI now, you have nearshore, but you have to know the topic.
You have to know.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Oh, yeah.
Porque uno es latino,
Yeah.
apellido García, no significa que él va a tener éxito in reaching an audience that you're being hired to do.
It's not. It's a combination of things.
Yeah.
And knowing it's actually key, right? It's being a storyteller, right? Being a storyteller. Anyone can be a storyteller. I think anyone can do something, you know, but for their stories to be a hit with people outside of their, you know, immediate fan base, that is another level of different things that are going to play. But people react the most, right, to things that are organic, like authentic, right?
Yeah, I think I call it connection to the culture. Just because uno parece uno mismo doesn't mean they're gonna know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
and the old heads, what have they done for us today for us to keep on looking to them for clarity?
And with that is that I've created stuff, right, that I expected folks to support me.
Yeah.
But not, you know, I'm like, I wasn't angry about it. I was like, what I got to do?
Probarlo,
probarlo.
Hay que dejarlo curar más, pero probarlo curar el base, that's it. Here,
sí, alguna gente lo toma right away.
Yeah, yo lo tomo para probar y después se ajusta, you know? No, but then you had a cure, that's perfect, bro. Eso está
good.
So that's what I'm getting at.
To my point about that is that I've created certain things, right? Initiatives, right? And even films that I've written, screenplays that didn't take off, but I wasn't upset about that. I'm like, okay, it didn't resonate with the community. Dust yourself off.
Yeah.
And try again. That's it. Yeah. And there are certain things that I've done, and I'm like, oh, it took off with the community. Outside of the community, not just our community, Latinos. Because I'm not confined to just, when it comes to commerce, I'm going back to that, and you know more than that, than me about business, the business world. When it comes to commerce, right? If, like I said earlier, if you want people to buy your stuff, you got to provide something of value to them.
Yeah,
right.
I'm expecting them to buy it because you the color of your skin.
It's not gonna work. It has to be. And one of the things that, you know, my friend Juan, who, you know, passed away, and rest in peace. He was in the film industry. He was a programmer of festivals. So he films that, you know, they submit a lot of films, and he was the one that would go through thousands of films, and he'll choose the ones that would be on the festival. One of the things that he used to tell our folks is that know your craft.
Yeah.
You know, just because you're Latino and you're out there, I'm Latino, I'm Latino, please support me. And people used to get upset with him, and they used to call him a purist. They used to call him a gatekeeper for that. And I'm like, and I agreed with him. And I agree with the folks that were complaining, only to a point of, we do need more spaces for us. But create it yourself.
There you go.
Create it yourself.
That's it. Create it yourself.
Create it yourself. But, you know, and also you have to know where you're coming from. Get to know the space that you're entering, right?
Why do people fake the funk then?
It's not just Latinos. It could be a number of things. It could be a number of things. Is that either because they want things just to fall on them like that, and that's not how it works. You got to go.
I think it's ego.
It could, it's ego as well. It's ego as well. It's like we have to. The thing is that even that's tied back to ego, because a lot of folks is like, yo, soy bonito. I know how to talk. I'm Latino.
Or I want the limelight.
I want the limelight
what it
out of
is.
nowhere. But you have to, for the most part, no comenzaron. Even going back to Benito, they didn't start, Beyonce and them. They didn't start from the
They
top.
started in groups. Romeo started with Aventura.
Tienen que empezar desde abajo.
Yeah.
Pero tienen que aprender las cosas. And you can't be angry at people
Yeah.
for not, porque tú no estás en esa posición aquí arriba. It takes years for people to get to
if you believe that 90% of what you don't achieve es culpa de nosotros, that's good. Because then you adjust.
That's true. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You look at Fat Joe. Fat Joe, he was always Latino, but he grew up in an area that was predominantly black. So he grew up on hip hop. But one of the things that I admire about him, and even in Earl Watson, is that I told Earl, no matter what you do in basketball or Kansas, he to me was always Mexican and black. Él piensa en los dos. He didn't culture switch, code switch. ¿Tú me entiendes?
Yeah.
So I admire Earl for that. And the same thing with Joe. Joe grew up in the Bronx, pero I never thought he wasn't Latino. So what bothers me sometimes is when Latinos check the box to be Latinos because they're trying to teach a demographic. That's not authentic.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's shown that it doesn't work. But then we blame everybody else but ourselves. So shout out to Earl and Joe. But, I guess for me it's easier because there's no way around it. I look Chinese. Entonces yo soy chino nicaragüense. But there are Chinese people growing up in the beginning telling me que vos no sos chinos. Vos no hablas el chino. Vos no hablas cantonés. Vos no sos chino. I heard my whole life. And in the beginning, it did kind of make me think twice. You have a...
Yeah, did you get that from Latinos as well? Of like...
No, I only got from the Chinese. Oh, nah, because to me it's different. I came as an immigrant in ESL.
Ya habla español.
Yeah, con 3 familias en una casa.
Sí.
There's no way. How many Latinos don't speak Spanish in the United States? Entonces, ningún Latino me va a decir, vos no sos Latino, porque pareces chino. Now, you might have some ignorant people, sometimes in my own circle, sometimes, ¿cómo habla español este chino? But, eso ya pasó de moda 15 years ago. I don't get it now. If you still get that now, then that means it's my fault for being a come mierda to have those people in my circle.
I think... Can people tell? I think people can tell you're Latino. People can tell.
Es que la maña.
Exacto.
You think, look, we know some Latinos that don't speak Spanish. You put them next to me and we walk down the Heights or El Barrio and I go order some cuchi frito. ¿Vos pensás que ellos no me hablan español?
Sí, te hablan español, te hablan español.
Porque yo soy
la manera que te expresas, como caminas y todo.
People.
So if you see another Latin Asian in any space, you would recognize them by the way that they move.
I recognize it by their accent. Yo ya sé que güey es dominicano. Yo ya sé que el chino siumai con arroz chino venezolano.
Sí.
Because of their accent. That's another thing. Let's talk about that, right? Sometimes people say, este suena dominicano, este suena cubano, este suena nicaragüense. To me, it's like if you grew up in the South, you're going to speak like the South, no matter what you are.
That's true.
If you grew up in the South, you're going to speak with those colloquialisms.
Yeah.
Entonces, cuando la gente dice, vos hablas así, no es que soy eso. Es que yo me conformo donde yo me crío. You know what I'm saying?
Sí.
So that's why it's just a form of communication, like slang. You grew up in the hood, you're going to speak with certain terms.
I just find it interesting that there's certain things that, other Latinos recognize, even, it doesn't matter the color of the skin, it doesn't matter, y contigo, una de las cosas que tú has dicho, que hay gente que te habla en español así de la nada.
And on the way here, on the Uber, the dude was Dominican, and I asked him where he's from, and he said, why does that matter? So at first I was like, yo me ofendí, right? I'm like, yo, bro, pero no quería que me vaya a las 5 estrellas. So yo hablo con él, y después, boom, ya de Central Park para acá, se puso más suave. Y le salió. Porque hay gente que le da pena de dónde son.
Eso es.
And let me tell you, it's a superpower. Es un beneficio tener la cultura hispana, latina. You know what I'm saying?
Verdad.
Like, look at Nelly Galan. Nelly Galan, she don't go around saying I'm Cuban, but en la forma como ella habla, se le sale. Yeah, so I think that being comfortable with yourself.
I see what you're saying. And that has been with me is that in our respective countries, right? We're not like that. We don't have to, because it's your people that you're with.
Yeah.
And once we come here, it's always like you want to overcompensate for something with people, especially about your identity. and that comes across as egotistical, right? A show offing to some folks, right?
It can.
It can. Not for them, and which is fine. Like people, you can be proud of who you are. But it's the time and the space. Está tomando.
Se ofendió bien. But no, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that because
Are you gonna be every space that you come in, right? You're gonna be dressed to toe, top to toe.
I try to be as myself, and it's not because
But that
that
already represents who you are.
But you know why I got that from my father. I got se calentó. I get that from my father. So shout out to my dad and my mother for son lo más fuerte que yo conozco. You talking about that's why I never wear a jersey with another player's last name. I can't do that because my heroes are my mother and my father. And so if I change for someone, I feel I would be letting my mom and dad down. I can't, but they're not gonna watch it, but I would become a come mierda.
And I think also to that point, is that even when we're beating other people over the head with our identity, I think that we're still thinking about other people and what they think of us instead of just being ourselves and pleasing ourselves and who we are. You understand what I'm saying? Like we get to the point that we exaggerate certain things that we're trying to combat. We're trying to fight against. Stereotypes.
Yeah, no, I think it's not an easy.
It's not an easy
one thing. Exactly. I understand everyone's struggles.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is if they take a step back to appreciate what their grandparents did and remind themselves of the journey, entonces van a tener más orgullo.
That's true.
And hopefully the circle, who you're with, te apoya. There's nothing worse than having a bad circle.
That's true.
And the circle can look like us sometimes. Look, how many times, even when the events that you and I go to, 90% son come mierdas, not because they're Latino, porque son come mierdas. So I have to apply self-love de no estar ahí. Porque el tiempo is the most valuable commodity. I just can't. Now that comes off the wrong way to people. Armando's mean. Nah, it's not that. It's I value my life. I almost died twice in this lifetime.
That's crazy.
Entonces, ¿por qué yo voy a vivir para otra persona? Que me importe lo que ellos piensen de mí. I can't do that.
So you think after those experiences now, you see...
It's become clear. It should have always been like that because you don't have to go through what I went through to feel the same way. But it became clear. Everything in your life happens for you. And you just have to not question, but question. ¿Qué es lo que tengo que aprender de esto? ¿Qué es lo que tengo que cambiar? ¿Por qué me dieron la segunda chance, tercera chance? That's just the way I live, right? Because society is tough, but it's easier if you put yourself in situations of solution versus anger. Eso es todo lo que estoy diciendo yo. But it's not for everybody.
And anger, I mean, it has a space, but it can consume you. And it's going to affect every aspect.
How do you deal with anger? Frustration. You're in the arts business. I deal with a lot of cohorts going.
For me, one of the things that I learned in my 20s is that I used to dwell on that for months on end if I was upset about something. And then I said to myself, eso me está perjudicando a mí. Porque me lo tengo aquí siempre aquí. Yo lo que hacía era deal with it at the moment, whatever's bothering you.
Yeah.
And then, put it aside. Put it aside and go back to la normalidad.
Yeah.
Porque si no, eso se te queda ahí, and you become a monster.
You've become different since you had a baby.
Yeah.
You've become different since you got married. And so things in life also help change.
I'm definitely more careful with certain things.
You used to motherfuckers. You used to motherfuckers.
I have, I would say something illusion. No, yo le decía de todo a la gente. Yo le decía de todo. Y eso también porque I felt like it's only me. I have nothing to lose. But now even having a family too, with whom I love my family, but it also shows me you gotta love yourself too. Like you are, one matters as well.
Well, let's go back to that. Loving yourself, it makes it a little easier to do the hard things. What I mean by that is, if you love yourself, si vos aprecias eso, then it makes it easier to get rid of the circles and upgrade the right circles for you.
That's true.
My boy, Gerson Rosas, shout out to Gerson Bree, ellos dijeron, the hardest things to do are the easiest things we say we need to do. Not that he wrote it, but he brought that to my attention one day. And I remember, Gary Acosta also, un caballo me dice, don't let your political views define you. Why can't you be a good human?
That's true.
And don't get me wrong, before people start getting crazy, que no es americano, vende patria. Pues. Listen, how many cool Cubans I know in Miami que se cambiaron con esta administración?
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, before party, because the NFL just showed they don't give a shit about, cierta gente.
They don't, yeah.
But don't erase el camino de tus abuelos que vinieron de otro país. That's why I'm grounded. I cannot forget what my parents went through to give us a better quality of life. There's no freaking way. A lot of the reasons that we're here today in happiness comes from lo que ellos sufrieron. Your parents, our parents, your nephew's parents. So I don't know, man. There's no perfect answer. I just think there's a perfect you. There's a perfect you. And I think in America, hay oportunidad. The numbers are on our side. But is it how educated are we? How non-come mierda are we going to be to really reshape your circle first? You have accessibility. You come from film. Now you're learning different programs, different apps. You're filming on phones now. How have you adapted? What made you adapt? Not how, you did it. What made you adapt?
You gotta, with what you have and what you have access to.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have access to right now, like the phones, and if you want to create, it's like we can't wait for that perfect time and space.
Yeah, you got document
and resources, because I only have, for instance, right now I only have like one main camera. Like I have the phone, and I have the tablet.
Yeah.
Why don't we use that to record and then we adjust as we go?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you got to roll with the times or stay behind.
You roll with the times to not stay behind. But you're also a great storyteller, because there's a lot of corny shit out there, right? So how do you maintain your relevance on creativity? How can someone do that? Because I think it's important. I think everybody should have a podcast. I think they say too many podcasts. No, bro, everybody should have a podcast. That's a story. Everyone should have their own book. Lo que quieren que no tengan podcast y libros son los egos.
That's true.
But everybody should have.
But one of the things that I like about you, and you do, and that's what I'm doing as well, is that getting to know different communities, getting to know who they are, not just in my space from a Google or from behind a computer, but getting to know who they are in person, and also watching their stuff, right? And I also follow. I'm not one of those people that if people follow me, I gotta get to a point. I'm not gonna follow anybody back. I'm like, I follow.
That's another topic.
I follow people from every space, that I'm like, okay, I think this is interesting. Even beyond Dominican world.
Yeah.
Me interesa esto, quiero conocer a esta persona, me cae bien, me entretiene.
Yeah.
No importa dónde sea, del país o si hablan español o inglés, yo outside of the film world, si me interesa, yo lo sigo a esa persona.
Yeah.
Para así la mente de uno crece. That'll expand.
Well, you got humility. A lot of people don't have humility. And I always want to help people to share their story from a different angle, because you're right. You produce. Yeah. You're a legit, creator. So I just want people to just feel confident in telling their story. You don't have to have the best story, but you have to be the best version of yourself is by creating content. So that's why I ask you, because you've written features, you've done shows, pero how can people become more confident in their storytelling? Like if someone like you is learning how to adjust to the times, to not be behind, then that's important. I also like the fact that when we met, look, you're more on camera now than you were before.
Yeah, that's true.
People take for granted who you are as a human. And that's one thing that makes me different, I think, than most people, is that if I'm the smartest in the room, I'm the dumbest. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just love learning because I didn't go to college. Entonces my forma de aprender y learn, educate myself, is through social and people like you.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the fact that I had to force you to get on camera, bro.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's an honor to always break bread on cultural things that are relevant. That's why I love that we're both knowledgeable and relevant. And so the more people that everyone else finds themselves like that, the happier they are. It's already a jacked up, challenging society.
That's true.
But make it easier on yourself by navigating through the chaos.
And one of the things that you're sort of like, people say, if I save the world, then who saves me? One of the things that I used to say is for people, I would tell people all the time, what you're telling me, I would tell people, get on camera, make your stuff, do it, do it, make it. You got to get on camera. But I wasn't doing it for myself.
Yeah.
Until you came along and you told me, Cesar, come on board and let's talk.
Because of the hours of conversations that we would talk about culture, history, arts, tech, and so that's why I was like, nah, I think I'm a pretty cool person, but you're like cool as hell, bro. So it's an honor. Wait,
yeah. That's our cue to end our conversation.